Welcome to 2014 Scholars Forum. This year's theme is on transitions within the writing process as well as discipline to discipline. I'm Laura Thorne, librarian at UBC's Okanagan campus, and I'm here today with Constance Crompton, assistant professor in digital humanities in the Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies. Constance has published frequently, both articles and book chapters, as well as frequently writes for digital projects and online blogs. So thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
And I'll just jump right in. What kinds of writing do you do and what are you writing about?
Well, I mean, most of my writing really is academic writing, working through a research project and process, and then devising, arguments in order to share the new knowledge that the projects have created with a wider sort of scholarly audience. I also do blogging, and I write a little code every now and again because that's definitely required in digital humanities.
So how do you get started when you're writing a specific document?
Oh, well, because my training is as a Victorianist, so much of my work starts with archival research or attention to sort of primary sources. And so I often start really attending to those primary sources and keeping very careful notes in Zotero, which is a source management system that helps with citation, but also with note and record keeping. Like getting all of my sources in order is like step number one. And from there, I often actually like to write something smaller, like a conference paper, where I can take my idea and kind of shop it around to other scholars in the field to get their feedback before I have to actually sit down and face some proper article writing or even chapter writing processes. Yeah.
So as you've been writing over the years, how do you feel that your voice or position has changed?
Definitely, I guess, feel like more confident with time, and I think that really just comes with experience and with being even like more comfortable with the niceties of grammar. I remember, starting out and just thinking like, where are all the places that a comma goes, or how do I use a semicolon, and in my undergrad, all of that made me sort of quite nervous. And so I think, actually learning that the rules are kind of finite and, being sort of well read in my field, not that there isn't more to read, certainly has helped with my writing confidence, and I think has changed the tone of how I write.
You want to talk a little bit more about that process from graduate student to professional writing?
Coming out of my undergraduate degree, I had only really just in my sort of final year got a sense of what the larger sort of academic enterprise was about. I had read, peer-reviewed journal articles before and scholarly books, but I didn't really know where these things came from or like what their life was like sort of in the process of the writing cycle. And so, learning that really that was what my professors were, sort of doing all the time. They, teach for about a third of their time, but that they have these larger research mandates had really like turned on a light bulb for me. And so my master's and PhD was really like a training process for, joining that community and learning how to communicate within that community. I learned to go through the process that I now really enjoy, the sort of, archival and planning stage, the conference and feedback stage, and that has let me then, every time I start a piece of writing, I don't have to start with a blank page. That has made a huge difference. Now being able to start with a conference paper and to have, my conference paper there in front of me ready to be, changed, a clippings file where I can pull stuff out that maybe I could use later, notes to myself as I write about, what I still need to attend to, helps me have a sort of solid writing process that makes the whole thing less daunting than it was when I was starting as a graduate student.
So it's clear your process has changed a lot over the years. How do you find getting started again with the writing process? So for example, after you finish your dissertation, how do you motivate yourself to finish something?
Or sort of to turn that engine over. I must say, it was a little bit challenging with my dissertation. There was still sort of more that I wanted to say. I had worked on the history of bodybuilding and what it is that made the buff body something that the middle class man would want to have, from the 1890s onwards. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I like expanded this to include like women in bodybuilding, and really the thing that was challenging there was to tell myself to stop. That the text, had made a complete argument, worked as a discrete text, and I should really transform that into a book and send it out for peer review, rather than expand the process forever and ever and ever. So I think a lot of people have that trouble. It's hard to stop researching and to kind of say, okay, this project is complete. If I want to do that women bodybuilding angle, I should save that for the next project.
So you've talked a lot about the different types of documents that you produce. How did you find that they changed as a graduate student to a professional, the different things that you were required or wanted to write?
The wonderful thing is that we really are, free to explore the research questions that interest us most. And that was quite different from writing in a graduate seminar, context in which you're writing along lines that sort of meet the needs of the class or that address the themes of a course. And so, being able to pursue my own research questions made a huge difference. And I have found too that I'm now doing other types of writing, both blogging, which kind of gets some of those research ideas out there for feedback, really sort of quickly, but also grant writing, which I've always found a very useful exercise in just even helping to plan out what a research project is going to look like. So even if I don't end up getting that particular grant, at least then I have a solid framework to proceed with or without funds to complete a research project.
So as a digital humanist, you work within a multitude of disciplines. How do you find transitioning from discipline to discipline or negotiating those different when you're writing?
I feel like the different types of writing do inform one another. So I do a lot of academic writing. I also do some data modeling in XML, which is a way of sort of declaring at the level of code what is important about a text, or telling a computer what content in a series of texts matter to me as a humanist, and that will let me, run sort of statistical analyses and develop things like network graphs out of a particular text. And then I also do a little bit of programming to transform that XML into other useful formats. And both data modeling and programming involve thinking about the writing process differently, and programming in particular, writing, you're definitely writing code, but it's really a problem-solving process. So that process has helped me, define what a problem is and then what the steps are to solve it. Being able to problem solve in the programming sphere has actually been very helpful when it comes to problem solving in the sort of more traditional academic sphere.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you and to hear about your insights about writing, especially on the variety of vehicles you use to get your research out there. And thank you for joining us. Please feel free to watch any of the other videos available on our website.